Throwbacks to games of yesteryear have become commonplace in recent years, and McPixel 3 joins them as a parody of Sierra adventure games in the vein of WarioWare's minigames. It's a curious mix that has potential, and since the game focuses heavily on humor rather than a cohesive story, being funny is key to making everything work. While the eclectic mix of these genres sounds interesting on paper, the core loop of rapidly solving puzzles in increasingly bizarre ways is the only part of the game that holds it together. The emphasis on quirky humor that McPixel 3 takes can lead to some charming and inventive scripts, but the lack of sound effects causes the best parts of the physical comedy to fall flat, and an overuse of juvenile humor makes some scenes cringe. McPixel 3 is the sequel to 2012's McPixel and follows the titular character as he finds himself in a series of life-or-death scenarios that must be resolved quickly in MacGyver ways. This often involves a bomb or other explosive device, but various types of threats including forest fires, motorists, and giant monsters await the hero, who often saves only himself and leaves everyone else to their fate. Much of McPixel 3 plays like a point-and-click game, where puzzles have a time limit of 5 seconds to a minute to solve, with multiple wrong conclusions catapulting the player to the next level of the stage. Each stage will cycle through each level in turn until the puzzles are solved, and while it's a sensible way to structure them, it plays one of the few songs for the entire game, and with almost no sound effects to start breaking up the noise, the steps quickly wear out their charm. It doesn't help that a lot of the fake endings have moan-inducing jokes, as a good chunk of the protagonist relieves himself, sleeps with a character, object, crashes into an object, or is just airborne hunting. The irony of this replay being a huge deal-breaker is that the gameplay is incredibly varied. Much of the gameplay can be controlled like any other point-and-click adventure, but sometimes an activity like a shooting section or a beat-em-up level adds compelling twists to the stages. These all work well enough with the game's simple controls, and none overstay their welcome. A highlight revolves around levels based on adventure games from different eras in gaming history, though some intentional jokes still fall flat. Breaking each of McPixel 3's 12 main stages is an overworld that could have added value, but it falls into some of the same pitfalls as the rest of the game. Instead of dropping the protagonist roughly in the middle of the map, they are always placed near the right end. This means that as the player completes stages and uses earned coins to purchase access to new ones, the path to further progress in the game becomes longer and longer. If the game had more sonic variety, such a problem would be relatively minor, but it gets annoying when the only thing you hear is a single song repeating itself. An in-game music player is optional, but not a solution as the soundtrack only offers a handful of songs, all of which become boring after a few minutes of listening. Any optional jokes one might encounter while exploring lose any appeal they might have had because of the desire to level up and escape the music above the world. What makes the problem of the lack of sound effects more apparent is that when they are present, the game clicks into place. A TV show-centric first stage features a series of levels set in a sitcom, and a laugh track accompanies most of the action. It's a fun gimmick at first, but as the levels get more twisted, the laugh track that accompanies the protagonist makes this one of the funniest sections of the game. Moments like these are compelling enough to that the game inspires curiosity about what awaits us in the next chapters, but they are rare. These few arrive in the form of the latter stages of the game, as they are some of the best, with fast-paced levels culminating in a few gags that elicit a laugh or two. Watching the gameplay from moment to moment, there could have been an immersive loop, quickly solving puzzles before moving on to the unpredictable next, and taking every available second to hastily cobble together a ridiculous solution. Unfortunately, the game does not reach this milestone. McPixel 3 is thankfully short, lasting around 3 to 5 hours depending on how familiar it is with point-and-click adventures, but those few hours drag on. It can be fun to find the cleverest solutions in the game, but the overuse of low-effort jokes and non-existent sound effects outside of repetitive music makes it difficult for most to recommend. Our rating, 2 out of 5. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.